Hi, it's TJ with Envision. It's May 8th, 2023, and this is the AI and digital marketing news that is relevant to local service businesses, such as our clients here at Envision. We do this weekly news recap to stay up to date internally, but we also share it so that any other local service businesses can benefit from our insights. So this week, there's been a lot of exciting news. Probably the biggest three stories is a update from Google on their search algorithm, some new advancements in image generation that's going to change things for us and I think for everyone, and a new feature from ChatGPT called Code Interpreter that I'll talk about in a little bit. So let's start with the unconfirmed ranking algorithm update. It's unconfirmed because Google has not said anything about this update, and this happens a lot where we can see signs of a big algorithm update. Things are definitely changing, but Google's not saying anything about it. So they probably won't. Sometimes they'll come out later and they'll be like, oh yeah, we had an update last week. But a lot of times they just say nothing. So how do we know there was an update? Well, there's a lot of tools out there. SEMrush probably has the most common one. Rank Ranger also has one, and they can detect changes in the rankings, or it's called SERP volatility, where they can see that a lot of people are changing position for a lot of keywords. And so we saw a lot of that right around May 1st and 2nd. And so we haven't noticed any of it on our clients yet, but sometimes it takes a while for us to see that because we're not looking at it every day. And so for us internally, if we're seeing big changes around May 1st and May 2nd, it could be related to this. We don't know yet what the changes were. It usually takes 2 weeks to a month before we have an idea of what the changes were. But for the last 2 years, most of the changes are kind of around the same thing. Google's just getting smarter a lot faster, and they're being able to notice high quality content much more efficiently. Good news for us, because we play by Google's rules, because we do things the way that Google wants us to, we tend to see our clients doing well when these updates come out. So fingers crossed. But also these updates tend to not have as big of an impact on local businesses, so we might not see as much movement for us. This is kind of a quick note. I don't know if it'll change much for us, but Google has changed their guidelines for syndicated content. So this means posting content on your website that was from another website, or the other way around. So typically, we don't like to post content on our clients' websites that was also on another website, but there are a few times where it makes sense, such as when a news website has written an article about our client. We might also want to put the article on our website. In the past, Google would say you should add a canonical tag to the copied version. And this is a tag that would go on the page of our website saying, okay, this isn't the original version. The original version came from this website over there. And we include a link to the original version. And then Google knows that we're not just posting duplicate content and claiming it for ourselves, which could have negative effects on our quality score from Google, quality assessment. It's saying, hey, this is just, we're syndicating it. Well, Google doesn't want us to do that anymore. Google has a hard time trusting canonical tags. We've known that for a while. And now they're saying, don't bother with a canonical tag, just block it from search engines. Now, we don't know what this means for how Google's actually going to treat canonical tags. And I don't know how many people are actually going to follow Google's advice, because you block from search engines, you can't rank. But this is probably what we'll do going forward when we post news stories, is just block it to be safe. That's what Google wants us to do. That's what we'll do. We don't really expect to get search traffic from these kind of articles anyways, because Google's always going to prefer to show the original source and not our version of it. Also, Google, we've been seeing a ton of Google video updates. Google's putting a lot of emphasis on video, putting a lot more video in search results, and getting much better at understanding video content without our help. And that's why we're putting a big emphasis on video here at Envision. More on that in a little bit. So Barry Schwartz wrote this article. By the way, all of Barry Schwartz's featured images are AI generated. If you look closely enough, you'll see the fingers a little weird there. But even fingers are getting better from AI. And this is going to sound weird if you didn't know this, but fingers were really hard, and now it's getting easier for AI image generators to make realistic looking hands and fingers. So yeah, not real people here, completely AI generated, as you'll see some other examples throughout this video. But Barry Schwartz went through the changes we're seeing from Google. So most what this article is talking about is that Google's now able to show the pros and cons. If a video talks about pros and cons, it can list those in the search results without the video creator providing any of that information to Google. So that means Google is listening to the video. They're going through, they're looking at the words spoken in the video, and they're extrapolating. They're doing that with chapter markers, with all kinds of stuff. And Google actually just recently came out and said, you don't need to put a description in your video schema anymore. Video schema is the code you add to a page with a video on it to help Google understand the video. We used to have to put chapter markers in there with timestamps, and now in descriptions and all that stuff Google can just do on their own now. Pretty soon we probably won't even need video schema for Google to pull a video into their search results, but for now we still do. But it's just really exciting to see how quickly Google is adopting video and getting better at understanding it. This was a cool study that was done on WordPress 6.2, the newest version of WordPress, is it's now 14 to 18% faster. That's really good for us because pretty much all of our clients, almost all of our clients, are on WordPress websites. We do really like working with WordPress, but one of the criticisms is it can be a bit slower than some of the other website builders. There is a chance, right now WordPress is in a tricky situation because there's a lot of website builders that are coming out that are easy to use and they're fast, but WordPress still has the edge in being very customizable. That being said, AI could change things really quickly, and so WordPress, kind of in a situation like Google, where it really has to adapt with the times to stay relevant. So we'll see. It's hard to say 5 years, 10 years from now if WordPress will still be the #1 website builder. We hope it will, of course, because that's where our clients are, but we'll go wherever the best tools are to offer the best services to our clients. This is a guide that we just put together. We're building out our YouTube offering. So pretty soon we'll have an official YouTube offering. We already help a lot of clients with their YouTube channels and getting more popular. But this is something that we're sending out to any of our clients with YouTube videos, and it just gives some good best practices and advice in terms of getting started and getting some traction to generate leads on YouTube, because that's what you care about, right? You're a local service business, you just want to get leads. So this is a YouTube guide that's just focused on local service businesses and how to get leads. It's split up into 7 parts. It's pretty long, but you can kind of just go through and look at the parts that are interesting to you. But all of these images were created with Midjourney. This is something we've been playing around with a lot more, AI image generation, and I picked a specific art style and then just came up with images for each section using that same art style so they'd be consistent. And I've been really impressed with how good Midjourney's gotten and some of these other AI generation tools. And so we plan on using this a lot more. Images are expensive. Good images are hard to find, and only unique images can rank in Google. And image generation is finally getting good enough that it could make all 3 of those things really easy. For example, this is an image I generated while creating this post. I didn't use it. I actually accidentally made this. I wasn't trying to make something photorealistic, and I left off a few keywords, came up with this, but this one just blew me away. That's not a real person. That human does not exist in the world, but it got the face, it got the hands perfect, and it's getting trivially easy to create images of this quality. Within a few more weeks, who knows where we'll be. So, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. We talk about Midjourney's most recent advancements. I have some cool tools and techniques here for you. This was an article from Sterling Sky. They just provided a very simple process for picking the best business category for our clients. It's not too dissimilar from our process, but I think it was just good to kind of read about how to come up with the best category because, as I said in last week's video, primary categories on the Google Business Profile have become much more important. And so getting those and then getting the services added to these Google Business Profiles is going to be key in maintaining high rankings on Google Maps. And then Through has this cool free tool. I don't know if it's new, but I just heard about it, and it's something that I'll be using. We use Through's paid features for some of our content optimization, but this is a free tool to let you just copy the content of a web page. This can be hard to do sometimes because you can select it all, but then it'll select images and things you don't want to copy. And this, you just put in the URL and it gives you just the body. without the nav bar or the footer or any of the junk in between. It just gives you the body text. So this nice little simple tool. Pretty soon AI tools will be doing this stuff for us, but for now, we can use that. Some recommended reading here. This guy, I just found him this week. He has a great video on a homepage layout. Now, he misses a lot of things that we have in our checklist for homepage layouts because he's not focused on SEO. He actually says one thing about SEO, and it's probably not true, which is getting people to stay on your page longer will get your page to rank higher. That's a point of contention within SEO, but it's definitely not decided. And he misses a lot of the important SEO things. But what he focuses on is branding and conversions, which and he has just some really great advice there, and he has a whole course. So I'm going to be going through that because I think there's going to be a few tidbits that we can pull from here and put into our process. But if you're interested in just kind of getting some new ideas for homepages and how to think about them, I recommend watching this video. And this is about homepages, but really I'm under the impression that every transactional page of your website should essentially be a homepage. The big hero image, the summaries with links to in-depth copy, that's true of service pages, of about pages, of location pages. They all should kind of follow the same format. You should always feel like you're landing on a homepage. I think that's what the good websites are doing. And the other recommended reading here was this article. It was originally in the Wall Street Journal. I found it from the India Times because I don't pay for the Wall Street Journal. And now, oh, I'll have to find. I'll replace the link with the real one. But anyways, the article is talking about Google's plans to make search more personal with AI chat, video clips. This is nothing new. I've talked about this in the last two videos, but a lot of changes are going to be coming to Google search. And we don't know which of those changes will be in Google's main search and which changes will be in Google's new AI search that'll be completely separate from Google, or at least Google search. But things are going to be changing very quickly. AI chat, more videos, more personalization. It's gonna be interesting, and we'll see that in the next coming weeks or months. So that's it with search. Let's move on to the AI section. The first thing I want to talk about is this company, Wirestock. So Wirestock lets you sell stock images. You upload your image to Wirestock, and it automatically spits it out to the top stock image companies, iStock, Shutterstock, Adobe Stock, Getty Images, and then Wirestock takes 15%. Now, why am I talking about this? We're not about to go become a stock image company. We're not selling stock images, but I have seen Wirestock sponsor pretty much all the AI content creators that I watch. And that's because Wirestock is trying to get you to sell your AI images to these stock image companies. And stock images are becoming very easy to make with tools like Midjourney. Midjourney, I think, is the number one tool right now. That's why it's what we're using. But Stable Diffusion is catching up. Might pass up Midjourney because it's open source. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But the point is, these stock image sites are about to get flooded with AI images, which might make you think, oh, a bunch of low quality photos. But if you've seen the ones that come out recently, they're just as good and maybe soon better on average than the stock images we've seen in the last 20 years, which means we could see stock images coming out at 10 times or 100 times the rate that they've come out before, had pretty much no cost to the content creators. And so that means that stock images are going to become really cheap, right? There's just going to be so many of them. It would be silly to pay $20 for a single image anymore. But why buy stock imagery when you can create your own unique image for $1 or less using a tool like Midjourney? And that's probably going to get cheaper too. And so things are really going to change here. We're going to be able to create custom images that look as good as stock images, and developing that skill and coming up with systems around that is going to be crucial. So we're working on that now, and we can start using a lot more images. Sometimes an article calls for 5 or 10 images, but we don't want to pay the $100 for those images. And now it might make sense to start doing that, to go back through page content and add more images. Now, that being said, nothing replaces actual images at the business. If they're working on cars, we want to see the cars that they worked on. If they did a job and we can show that job in an image, we want to show that. If they have team members, we want to see images of the team members. There's a lot of things that these image generators can't do for us. But when we don't have an image of the exact thing we're talking about, AI images could play a big part here. I think stock image sites are going to be very different within just a few short months. And so I just wanted to kind of everyone to keep up on that pulse and that trend, because it's going to change quickly, and we could really benefit from staying up on that. On that same line, Shutterstock is announcing their generative AI showcase. Shutterstock is going all in on this generative AI. They know what's coming for stock photography, and they're going to try to get the best of it. Getty Images is fighting it really hard. Shutterstock's like, bring on the AI images. And whatever your take on the ethical issue is, I think that's the smart business move. It's whether or not all of this AI advancement is good. I think it's good and bad. But one thing's clear, as a business, you just have to go with the flow. That's the direction everything's going. Fighting against it is only going to hurt you. And so that's what we're doing as well, is just going with it and taking advantage of all the new tools. Midjourney 5.1 just came out. Midjourney 5 was a huge step up from Midjourney 4. That's really, sorry, getting a bunch of ads here. That's really where we saw the big advancements in AI and being able to create realistic images. 5.1 is supposed to be a significant advancement from there. It's also a lot easier to use. The AI is better at, they say it's more opinionated. So instead of just creating the image based on your exact prompt, it's going to kind of develop an opinion about what the image should look like based on what it thinks you're going for. And so you can give it shorter prompts and still have them come out looking good, where in version 5, you really had to learn which keywords to include to get a good image. And they're just much prettier images. That's one criticism of the new one, is version 5 gave more realistic images, where 5.1 gives more creative images. However, 5.1 has a new keyword called raw, which helps you get more realistic looking images. So you can see right here, the ones on the left, version 5, they look more real than the ones on the right, which are more like stylized. But you can just include the keyword raw and you'll get more like the left, and it's also supposedly much better. I've only played around with this a little bit so far. What I found is 5.1's images are consistently good, where 5, you could get them, but sometimes they weren't. But anyways, I'm reading a lot up on this, and we're going to start developing some of our own systems so that we can use this more consistently and reliably to create really the best images for our clients' content. This was the most interesting news to me this week. I put a video here about it. Google had an internal document leaked, and it's called the "We Have No Moat" document, or at least that's what the internet's calling it. Very interesting document. I'm not going to go over it in detail. You should watch the video. But essentially, someone from Google, someone high up in Google, made a document, an internal document, saying we're not going to win this AI race with large language models. And that's kind of mind-blowing news. Just 6 months ago, everyone was sure that Google had such a lead in the AI space that no one would ever be able to catch up to them. And then OpenAI came out and showed that they were way ahead of Google, at least in some areas, using Google's own transformer technology. And then Google started scrambling, and a lot of us have been wondering, hey, is Google actually behind OpenAI, or are they way ahead and they're just waiting for the right opportunity to come out? Well, now we're kind of learning they're not. They're behind OpenAI, but this "We Have No Moat" paper actually says that Google and OpenAI are both going to lose to these open source models like Stability AI. Stability AI is the leading open source AI. They have Stable Diffusion is their #1 tool that's completely open source. and they're releasing a large language model that we'll talk about in a little bit called Stable Vicuna. And this document from Google says we have no chance of keeping up with these open source models. Even though OpenAI is way ahead of everyone right now, this person from Google believes that the open source models are going to pass them up because they're just accelerating at such a quick rate because they have the entire world working on them. And it's been really impressive to see how quickly these tools have gotten better, the ones that are out there for open source. And so that's really interesting. And the proposal from the document is Google shouldn't try. Don't even try to compete with these large models. Let's just use the models in our own company where we can and be the best we can, assuming that we're not going to be the leader in large language models and generative AI models. And that is insane. It changes everything if it's right. And if Google adopts that principle, it means Google will no longer be the leader in AI, and they're not even going to try to be. So we don't know. We just see the document, but very interesting stuff there, and we'll see what comes out of it. Let's talk about Stability AI's Stable Vicuna, though. This is a ChatGPT-like large language model, and it's based on Meta's large language model. So Meta, Facebook, Instagram, they have been developing their own large language model. Well, that got leaked, and it got stolen by the open source community. They essentially copied the whole thing. There's no way for Meta to recover it now. It's out there, and this has become the #1 open large language model. Here they have some benchmarks to compare it to some of the other top open source language models. Now, again, this isn't as good as ChatGPT yet. It's not competing with OpenAI just yet, but it's improving very quickly. And according to Google, they think it's improving much quicker than OpenAI can improve. And so this will be very interesting to see what happens. According to that video I linked, Facebook could be the real winner in all of this because all of these updates to Vicuna are updating Meta's model. So we could be living in a world very soon where Meta has the #1 large language model in the world. Now, they won't own it. It'll be open source. But all this work is being built on their version, on their large language model. So it could be very good for Meta, but overall it's very good for the open source community. But it's also a little scary because things could advance quicker than we want them to, as it's kind of in everyone's hands to play with. Fortunately, the CEO of Stability AI is very concerned with AI safety and really, I think, doing what he can at least to keep it from going off the rails. All right, I didn't mean to talk so much about large language models. I just get excited. But speaking of large language models, ChatGPT just announced a new plugin. It's in alpha. I don't have access to it yet. Very few people who have access to it yet, but it's called Code Interpreter. So a few weeks ago, they announced plugins, which lets ChatGPT talk to other apps, and they can ping Wolfram Alpha to do calculations. They can ping Instacart to go order groceries for you. They can ping web browsers to go browse, and now some people do have access to that, GPT-4 with web browsing, which would be great, because then ChatGPT can access new information, not just what it was trained on before September of 2021. Code Interpreter, though, is going to be another game changer. This seems to be as big as browsing will be. It's going to add a whole new set of functionality. So what this lets you do is you can create charts and graphs like this, and it's very good with math, unlike base ChatGPT. But you can also upload files. So he does a bunch of math here. So here they uploaded a CSV file with something like 20 columns and 10,000 rows. Much bigger than we can just dump into it now. We do this with CSVs now by just copy pasting. Here they can upload the actual file. And there's a huge list of file types you can upload. And then you can just ask it to do analysis for you. It's a data scientist for you. This is going to be insanely beneficial for us when we can upload CSVs of Google Search Console data, of Google Analytics data, of Google Ads data, of any internal data that the client has from their CRM. We can have it build charts and graphs, do analysis, identify trends. It's going to be a game changer. And a lot of our work, I predict, is going to be in this or tools like this in the near future. Another reason why it's very important for all of us to get very comfortable using these kinds of tools. It goes well beyond what any of us could do. We'd have to pay $200,000 a year to a data scientist and wait a week to get the kind of reports we're going to be able to get in seconds from this kind of tool. And then after the CSV, they upload a PNG and have it do basic image editing. Have it downsize the image, have it grayscale it, have it give a green tint, have it remove the background. ChatGPT can do all of that. Now, we can do all of these things with tools right now, but it'll be able to do it with a large language model interface and be able to do a lot of other things with it. So this is a few things it can do. Examples on Twitter also include video editing, of taking a GIF and turning it into a video, of making videos longer or shorter. And so it's going to be a game changer, but it's also probably just the tip of the iceberg. And 6 months from now, I imagine large language models will just be an interface for everything we want to do. You can imagine building an entire website, having a conversation with a large language model. Google autoplaying. So it's important that we're getting used to this now, because this is the world we're going to be working in the very near future. And if we can be one of the companies that's getting a jump on it, we're going to be in a really good position. Bing. Microsoft Bing announced that their Bing Chat, which is powered by GPT-4, is now in open preview. So anyone can use it as long as you download the Edge browser. And they also added a bunch of new features. It does a lot more videos and images in its results. So it's a lot more visual. You can save your chats. So when you're having a conversation, it gets saved in this right sidebar, and then you can go back and look at it or continue where you left off from a month ago or something. You can also start browsing. So if you're having a chat, you can click on a link and your chat will stay in the right sidebar and you can keep browsing. So I've been using Edge more than Chrome lately. If you haven't tried this yet, I highly recommend you just use Edge whenever you want to have a more conversational interface with search. But the content is aware of the chat is aware of the content on the page you're looking at. So it's like having an expert assistant right there with you as you're browsing the web, and you can just ask it anything you want. You can have it go look up stuff for you. It's very, very useful. Now, it's not as smart in my experience as GPT-4 because they have so many limitations on it. They have a lot of safety limitations and constraints on it. So if you don't need the web browsing part, I still recommend using ChatGPT Plus. But for a lot of things, Bing Chat is better, and just having it right there in Edge is really nice. So we'll see what comes from that. 11 Labs, I've mentioned them once, I think a few videos ago, but I think they're going to become more and more relevant unless, of course, a competitor passes them up. 11 Labs creates voiceovers. They're a voice cloning software company, and I think we'll be using them a lot in the near future. You can clone your own voice in about 30 seconds, and it's not perfect, but it's getting better quickly, and it's already pretty good. It's good enough that if someone wasn't very familiar with your voice and you're not talking for a long time, they wouldn't be able to tell. And this is very useful when we're helping clients create videos. We can save them a lot of time by cloning their voice, writing a script for them, and then just making the voice file themselves. They don't have to find a microphone and figure out software and figure out how to send us the file and do it 10 times, find the best take, and have us edit together. Once we have their voice cloned, we can just create the audio files. Now, having an actual voiceover or having the person on camera is always going to be better, but that might not be an option a lot of times. And so 11 Labs right now is the #1 tool for creating these cloned voices. And what they just announced was this multilingual model, which allows us to input different languages and have their voice have the correct accent. It's really cool. I've seen a few demos of this, but this is the one that they did themselves. And I don't know. I don't think you can hear my computer audio, so I won't play too much of this. But they have the same voice read a script in three different languages: Spanish, then English, then German, and it has the right accent. That means we could create a video for our clients and then create the same video in a different language, and it would still be their voice in the video. So, anyways, I think that'd be really cool. It's something that we still need to work out, but we're currently building out our YouTube services, and that I think will be an option when creating videos. A few tools just to share with everyone. Microsoft Designer is now open to everyone. So this is like a Canva competitor. Um, but it's very, very much AI driven. Now, Canva has been quick to put AI into their product, but Microsoft Designer is really like you start with the prompt. You say, hey, this is what I'm making. And then it gives you something like that. And then it's just very conversational as you're editing this. It looks very powerful. Of course, it's Microsoft, so they're partnering with OpenAI. They have some of the best AI available right now. We'll see if Microsoft can stay ahead of the curve on this. But right now, this is probably something to check out and play around with. We could be able to get some very unique, original creatives for our clients, for social, for GBP posts, or anything else we might need this kind of content for. Chat with data. So last week I shared a GPT integration that allowed you to upload a PDF and then ask the large language model about the PDF, which could be really useful. There's one client in particular where we, I believe, could create a lot of really high quality blog posts from their extensive PDF library. This one goes one step further and gives you, you can also do Excel files, CSVs, doc files, SQL files with databases, and then ask questions on that. So like I said just a few minutes ago, ChatGPT is going to be integrating this feature into their large language model, and then this won't make sense anymore. But we don't know how long that'll be. And in the meantime, we can kind of start getting used to this new tool with chatwithdata.ai. So I urge everyone to try that out if they can find opportunities. And then this was a spreadsheet I found from a YouTuber I follow. This is nothing super unique, but it's Midjourney results with the prompt that was put in. And he made it mostly to compare Midjourney 4 versus Midjourney 5. Of course, now we're on 5.1. But what I really liked from this is just being able to see images right next to the prompts. And now there's a bunch of websites that do this as well, but I just pulled up this example because I would like to do something like this internally. As we're creating good images with Midjourney, I think it's good to include our prompts. So maybe creating a spreadsheet like this will be useful, and that'll help us go back and figure out what prompts achieve which results and make it much easier for us to generate similar images once we've identified a good prompt for them. This is something I've been doing personally, and I think doing this as a company would be very useful. So that was all for AI and search news. I just have a few things that were fun that I just had to throw in here because I was excited to talk to you about them, but they're not really related to digital marketing for local businesses. So I'll go through them quickly. This first one is a 3D model creation tool where all you have to do is take a video of an object. You just walk all the way around the object of the video. It doesn't even have to be particularly stable, as you can see. It can be a little bit shaky. And they produce seemingly a perfect 3D model. I watched some videos of people using the tool, and it seems to work just as well as it says it would. This is going to be insane how easy it's going to become to make realistic 3D models for games, for websites, for 3D printers, for all kinds of things. Really crazy technology. The CEO and founder of Khan Academy gave a TED Talk about Khanmigo, which is their partnership with OpenAI and integrating GPT-4 into Khan Academy. And you can get free access if you donate $20 a month, according to their email. But I think it's something I'll be trying with my kids. It's a personal tutor that doesn't let your kids cheat. And then there's also a teacher version that like comes up with lesson plans. My wife's a teacher, so that's super exciting. I think it's going to be really cool. I think education is just going to blow up with this AI technology. This was a really cool paper where they took like 200 medical queries from Reddit, I believe. It just says from a social media forum. Yeah, I believe it was Reddit. So they took 195 random patient questions from Reddit. And then they gave those questions to a group of doctors, and they also gave them to ChatGPT. And then without saying which is which, they let some medical professionals review the doctor responses and ChatGPT responses and just ask them to say which one was more empathetic and which one was more accurate. So it was the two quality and empathy were the two categories. And the results suggest that artificial intelligence assistants. The finding was that the chatbot responses were preferred over physician responses. And it was 79% of the time. 79% of the time, the medical professionals preferred ChatGPT's response to professional doctors' responses. Insane. So their conclusion is that doctors should be using ChatGPT to help come up with the responses. But of course, the internet's conclusion is going to be, why go to a doctor? I'll just ask ChatGPT. Now, of course, you should go to a doctor because you should have someone look at it. And sometimes large language models just make stuff up. But they're already outperforming doctors, at least through text. Now, if you can get physically checked up, maybe doctors are going to outperform. But I think we're going to see a lot of implications from this, especially with like devices that can check your vitals in real time, having a large language model being able to interpret that data. It's going to change medical industry, I think, dramatically in the next few years. Excited for me. And then finally, this is just a fun one. It's called Twists. You put in your friend's Twitter username, so they have to be active on Twitter. It's not going to work for me. And it'll suggest gift ideas. Thought that was really cool. I have a hard time buying gifts for people. If they're active on Twitter, put in their Twitter username, it'll use AI to come up with some gift ideas. That's all for this week in Search and AI and some other fun stuff. And we'll be back next week with probably a whole new slew of information because things are moving really quick right now. Thanks.